The floor is yours.
Thank you, James. It is an honor to join you today to talk about our shared bonds and our mutual vision for the future. New York City and Korea have so much in common, including a deeply rooted culture of innovation and entrepreneurship. We believe our future is broad and bright, a place where technology and creativity are driving new trends in everything from infrastructure to entertainment. Despite the setbacks of the past 2 years and the looming crises around the globe, we continue to focus on solutions. As my mother once said to me, if you find yourself in a dark place, you make the determination if it's a burial or a planting. I am someone who has always focused on the planting. I believe in turning pain into purpose. When I was a young man, I had an undiagnosed learning disability, but did not let that define me. That struggle ultimately led me to become a police officer, a public servant, and an elected official. When New Yorkers see me, they don't just see the mayor, they see one of their own. Someone who was born here, raised here, and went to public schools here. A person with dyslexia who struggled to overcome. A citizen who looked out for his community, and an officer who served and protected. That lived experience is what allowed me to become the mayor of this great city. And the experience is what drives me to help create a better, healthier, more equitable city as we move forward. I am focused on the basic things New Yorkers want. I listen to the people and I act on what I hear. That is why public safety continues to be the top priority for me and my administration. We have rolled out big new solutions and strategic responses across the board, including putting more officers on our streets and subways. We've taken action against ghost guns and gun traffickers, and we are seeing results with shootings and homicides both down by double digits. But public safety is not just about investing in more police. It's about investing in people. It's about making sure there's opportunity for all, with good paying jobs and multiple pathways to the American dream. It's about preparing our youth for the jobs of the future and providing direct on-ramps to those jobs. It's about providing affordable childcare for every family who needs it and building housing for New Yorkers in every income bracket. And it's about engineering safer streets for our pedestrians and cyclists, as well as our drivers. It is about helping those who need it most, including those experiencing homelessness, many of whom are at risk from violence themselves. It's about investing in public health on every level, from preparing for future pandemics to expanding lifestyle medicine programs in all 5 boroughs. And it's about protecting our vast and complex infrastructure from extreme weather and other climate shocks. And these efforts are just the beginning. We will continue to transform our city through good government and responsive leadership. But it is the work of many hands, many minds, many years. There are forces that try to divide us, but most of us want the same thing: safety, jobs, schools, and housing. A good life for working people. It sounds simple, radically practical. And the way we get those things is through mutual cooperation. We can't have public safety if everyone is carrying a gun. We can't be healthy if people can't get preventive care. And we cannot have opportunity if people do not trust in each other and in our civic institutions. There is a darkness in the world right now, but we cannot be deterred. This can be a time of planting, a time of transformation. We're not going to let the problems of the past keep us from making a better world right now. That is the spirit that unites us here today. And I'm proud to be the mayor of the city of New York that is home to one of the largest Korean communities in America. And when I visited Korea as a state senator, I was inspired by your high-tech infrastructure and sustainable energy sector. New York City and Korea have so much in common, including energy, hustle, and innovation. Like us, you are a world leader in technology, business, and pop culture. The Republic of Korea is currently the sixth largest trading partner, and we are proud that so many of your top companies base their operations in the New York region. Your investment in our finance, insurance, manufacturing, tech, real estate, energy, and trade institutions are all an important part of our business sector in the global economy. And we are dependent on your partnership as we embark on this global economic recovery together. Your partnership is important and is more than economic and culture. We have a deep, lasting friendship based on shared values, strong civic culture, and a belief in building a stronger, more interconnected world that will benefit all of us. A world of safety and abundance with jobs, housing, and care for all. A rare world where our children can play, breathe, and thrive. A world where we capitalize on the progress being made in new forms of energy, transit, and commerce. A world that empowers people to live their best possible lives with access to green space, healthy food, and preventive health care. A world that is inclusive, fair, and just. And is all possible if we work together. That is our mission, and this is our moment. Let's unite together. Thank you.
You know, Mr. Mayor, I must have done over 100 of these events, fireside chats, and I got to tell you, your speech today was really, really special, very appreciative. What an amazing opening. Thank you for getting us started off with so much passion and excitement. So let me start with the first question, Mr. Mayor. You know, you are a trailblazer in many, many ways. Despite your tough upbringing, you served as an officer in New York City Transit Police and then NYPD for 20 years. Then in the New York State Senate, you became the Brooklyn Borough President as the first African American. And now you are the second African American in New York City's history. That's just fantastic. So I wanted to ask you a couple of questions, sir. What motivated you to enter law enforcement and politics? And also, what lessons have you learned from your professional experience as to what makes an effective leader? Because when I hear you speak, I can tell you are a phenomenal leader. So I'd love to get your perspective on those two questions.
Very important questions. I believe, one, the motivator for me to go into law enforcement was a negative encounter I had with police as a child. And borrowing from the statement I said about my mother, instead of taking that painful moment and saying, woe is me, I said, why not me? Because I knew that the prerequisite to prosperity in my city, in your city, in our countries is public safety and justice. And you can have them both. And I leaned into those painful moments and found purpose. And that purpose allowed me to push for reform, to make sure that we get proper policing. But it also encouraged me to see the understanding of how do you protect the public and provide them the safety that they deserve. We all want to be safe in our homes and in our cities, but I also know how important it is to have the right qualities to be a leader. And what is that? It is being a servant leader. It is not being elected to be served. It's being elected to serve. And that is being a deep listener, because we should seek to understand so we can be understood, something that does not happen often. And we listen to the people of the city, and we provide the services based on what we're hearing from them on how to produce the best product for New Yorkers.
And I also know, Mr. Mayor, that you act with speed which is why you are a strong leader from at least, what we know about you here from Korea. Now, let's talk a little bit about New York City. I'm also an immigrant from Korea. I lived in Los Angeles, I lived in New York City, and I've traveled the world just like you have. But everywhere I go, I think New York City is recognized as the most prominent city in the world, the most global city in the world. So why do you think New York City remains and is called the greatest city in the world?
One of the stories I like to think about was my family is in the southern part of America. And one day I was visiting my family and on the farm, and the tractor broke down. And I had to move hay from one side of the farm to the next. And I hooked up a motorcycle to the wagon to move the bushels of hay over. And I thought about it when I completed the task, and I realized I learned that from being in Vietnam. They use what's called a tut-tut to move around people and supplies. And that is the hidden secret of New York City, our diversity. As I stated, in New York, we have over 91,000 Korean living here in our city. But we also are diverse with other groups. In Brooklyn, one of our municipalities, 47% of Brooklynites speak a language other than English at home. The diversity of this city is allowing us to cross-pollinate ideas and culture. This is the only city and country where we're asking you not to abandon your home country to adopt your country called America. That is the secret weapon we have, and that diversity allows the energy of new products, new ideas, solutions to global problems that we're facing. I'm extremely excited about the diversity of this city, the different languages, the different populations, and that is the hidden jewel that we have. It's the jewel of our diversity.
And also, Mr. Mayor, let's not forget that New York City operates 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We can go out and eat whatever we want. There's great cuisine from all over the world. Sports is fantastic in New York, the Mets, the Yankees, the Knicks. And because I'm a big tennis fan, we also have the Grand Slam New York, U.S. Open happening in late August. So New York City, at least from my personal experience, is a phenomenal city. So for those of you who haven't been to New York City or as frequently as much, please go visit New York City. Let's talk about...
It's a city that never sleeps.
Yes. And I think the city of Seoul here in South Korea is also very similar, which is the reason why I think South Korea and your city, New York City, can have really strong partnerships because we have similar characteristics. So, Mr. Mayor, let's talk about overcoming some challenges. You made public safety the centerpiece of your campaign. And I know that you are a true reformer and being tough on crime. Unfortunately, there is a perception that New York City is still facing a rise in crime. In particular, there has been some instances of what I call anti-Asian hate challenges. So what is your plan to resolve some of these concerns that I know that some of the Korean tourists and Korean travelers may have when they say, hey, I got to go to New York, should I be concerned? So what do you want to tell these people about going to New York City from a concern perspective?
Yes, New York, like many cities in America, we are experiencing crime problems that we are fighting against. But this city is a safe city. When you look at the millions of people who use our subway system every day, we only witness approximately 6 crimes a day out of the millions that use the system. Some of these cases are high profile, so they give the appearance of disorder when in fact it's not. The men and women who protect our city to deal with the issues of gun violence. We removed 3,700 guns off our street. Those guns are not produced in New York. but they find their way from the southern part of our country. We have a 30,000 plus police department of trained men and women who look in a precision way to address the issues of public safety. But every day, countless number of people visit here from many different locations with direct flights. Over 400 direct flights come here to the city. Millions of tourists come here and enjoy the greatness of New York. We had over 400,000 people visited Times Square last week. Our hotels are back at 95% occupancy rate pre-pandemic. There's a lot of excitement from Broadway to enjoying the U.S. Open or Knicks or Next game or one of the many baseball teams we have here in the city. And so there's a lot of excitement here. And we know we will continue to attract people from all over the globe to come here and visit the city. In spite of the headlines that give the impression as you move through the city, you will encounter violence. That is not the everyday interaction that everyday New Yorkers experience.
And I also think that, every city in the world, you're going to have some negative, stories, negative challenges and whatnot. And I'm sure given the size of New York City, it's no different. I was just in New York City a couple of months ago. I can tell you, sir, I feel very safe walking the streets at any time that I was there. I'm not concerned at all. So I just think that it takes all of us to educate the audience and the travelers to New York that New York City, especially under Mayor Adams' leadership, is safe, and you should never be concerned about traveling to New York City.
That's what we want people to believe. We experienced a spike in hate crime with the Asian and Pacific Islander community. We have witnessed a decrease since taking office. We have a 43% decrease in hate crime among my AAPI community this month compared to last year. And so we're moving in the right direction, building a relationship where all of us can live in a unified fashion.
And Mr. Mayor, again, having visited many cities in the United States, New York City is by far the most diversity-friendly city in the United States today. That's why I'm surprised when there is a conception or perception that there are anti-Asian issues. When there are so many Asians in Manhattan, in New York City, the different boroughs, so many different, people of all kinds of race. So again, my message to the audience is New York City, please don't be concerned about what happens out there. It's a great, great city. Let's talk about...
Well said, and I'm sorry, and I indicated 91,000. Those are 91,000 Koreans live in America. 64,000 are here in New York. And we have some of the largest population of all of the various groups in this city, from the Russian-speaking population, the Chinese population, as I indicated, Caribbean, Korean. This is a place where people find it home.
Absolutely. And I think what you and I ought to continue to do is whoever visits New York, embrace it, be part of society, and become mainstream. And you're going to really, really love the city. So let's talk about, the new normal beyond COVID. I read your inauguration speech, and I think you famously said that while the past 2 years have been continual crisis for New York City, we will not be controlled by crisis. I know that's what you said. How do you envision New York City emerging even stronger post-COVID-19?
Well, if you want to predict the future, look to the past. We went through a horrific period in 2001 when terrorism struck our center of trade, and we saw buildings that symbolized the strength of New York collapse before our eyes. And I look at the death of those we lost on 9/11 during that terrorist attack, but I also remember 9/12. We got up. Retailers built, teachers taught, builders built our skyline again and sold goods. And so we are at that moment again. And of course, COVID is not terrorism, but it brought terror. We lost loved ones. Many businesses were devastated. Many people lost their homes. So once again, we're at a pre-crisis moment. We did not stay in that crisis during September 11th. We showed America the resiliency of this city. We're not going to stay in the crisis of COVID-19. A formidable opponent. It shifts and moves, and we will pivot and shift with it. So we've done new things that has inspired the entire country. How we're testing at home with millions of test kits. How we're using life-saving drugs to fight this new battle. Each time a new variant comes to the city, we pivot and shift to fight those variants. And we're smart. We're telling people when appropriate to wear face coverings. We're delivering medicine at home. We're allowing people to see if they have symptoms to test right away. So we're using smart weapons to fight this new version of the war, not using old weapons to fight a new version. And because of that, we're successful in saving lives and preventing the destruction of our hospital system.
You know, Mr. Mayor, you mentioned 9/11. I was actually living in the New York area when it happened. And I can tell you that it was obviously one of the most tragic events that anyone could ever witness. But the very fact that New York recovered, I saw the sacrifice from all the firefighters, the police force. It was just truly an amazing turnaround story for New York. And I think that's the true character of New York City, and exactly what the mayor just referenced during his inauguration speech, and what I know you're trying to do as you continue to lead this great city of New York. So thank you again for the leadership.
Thank you.
Since the audience has a lot of Korean interest to this, let's talk about the importance of Korea to New York City. I know you touched on it a little bit. Even I touched on it before as well, but you have described yourself as not a domesticated leader, but a global leader. During your time as the Brooklyn Borough President, you traveled extensively throughout the world. And I know you created something called the 5 Sister City Agreements between Brooklyn and cities in other countries that you have visited. This is pretty special, by the way. You know, I don't hear of too many borough presidents traveling the world to do that. And again, that shows you are truly an iconic, transformational leader. So now, as the 110th mayor of this great city of New York, what is your vision for New York City and South Korea, New York City and Seoul? And why does Korea matter to you? And what can I do? What can we do to do more together?
I was extremely impressed when I was in Korea, seeing the innovation, the technology, the friendliness, and the cooperative spirit that we witnessed when I was there in Korea. I think we can learn from each other. And you're right, I consider myself to be a global partner. As I indicated, New York City has so many different ethnic groups and cultural groups, people from different parts of the globe. There's no better way for me to respect these groups than to visit their countries and create not only sister city agreements, but to exchange culture and business opportunities, bringing delegations of business leaders to different countries like Korea, and see how do we continue to expand our trade. New York City, Korea is one of the #1 trading partners with New York City, and I believe ranked 3rd in trading with America. It is crucial for us to continue to grow. Many of your companies are finding their headquarters right here in the New York City region. Of over 80 Korean companies like LG Household and Healthcare are finding their corporate headquarters right here in New York. We want to expand on that and grow and continue the relationship that we have developed. We find that the Korean businesses make great partners.
And I think, Koreans live in New York City. I can tell you since President Biden's visit to South Korea recently, the relationship between President Biden and President Yoon sound really, really terrific. Our Prime Minister, Mr. Han Duck-soo, our Foreign Minister, Mr. Park Jin, they're going to be terrific, terrific partners to the United States. And obviously, New York is always one of the major stops for any of our important Korean people to visit New York. And let's not forget Korea Wave, Mr. Mayor. You have BTS really killing it out there in the United States, right? You have
Yes.
Academy Award films. Don't forget Squid Games. Don't forget Korean Mandu, which is by a company called CJ called Bibigo. So again, I think Korean companies are doing really well, and we want to help you do more between Korean companies investing in America, and hopefully they invest more in your city because they really love New York. So again, my question is, what can we do to help you more with that?
Well, I said that I believe you're the third, but in America right now, you're the sixth largest trading partner in America, $127 billion in trade. What I am saying, what is great with the other states, but come here to New York. We want you right here to do the trade and business. And tourism is one of the most important economic drivers for New York City. We are encouraging Korean travelers and visitors to come here, visit our city, and see the wonders of this city. Now that you see many of the COVID restrictions are lifted, we want to take advantage of that and have our friends and family and others from the Korean community and country to come and visit here and participate. And this is a great place to do business. In New York, we are experiencing a real economic boom. When you look at the fact that many of the Fortune 500 companies are right here in New York City, we see this as an excellent opportunity to continue that partnership from tourism to commerce to educational opportunities with a large number of colleges we have here in New York City. This is a great place for your children to be educated. I'm almost sure your son got educated right here in the city and right here in America and received the quality education. We have some of the best schools right here and for postgraduate education in New York.
Just last night, I had hosted a young man who's starting his freshman year in college, NYU. So he is super excited about going to New York. And I asked him, of all the schools out there, why did you pick NYU? And he did one of those early admits, and he said New York City, baby. So he really likes it. And so I told him that I'm doing an event with you today, and he's super excited about going to New York in a few weeks. But also, Mr. Mayor, I do have a complaint for you, though. I know you visited China 7 times, right, when you were the borough president. So when does Korea get some living like that? I want to see you here 10 times.
I look forward to my return trip to Korea and just spend some time with the great Korean people. And we look forward to just continuing our relationship. We've always had an amazing relationship with the Korean people, and we're going to expand on that.
And I bet you've been to K-Town many times, right? That place is really rocking. You cannot even get restaurant reservations anymore. So again, it shows you the popularity and the dynamic nature of the Korean industry right in your city.
No, so true. In Manhattan, we have Koreatown, and in Queens, we also have an amazing Korean population that we're going to continue to expand on. Not only great food, but great culture, great innovation. We are really excited about the growth of Koreatown in Manhattan.
Mr. Mayor, I think you know the numbers, but Korean companies have made a record number of investments in the United States. around $80 billion just last year alone. And as I talked about when President Biden visited Korea just in May, there's even more excitement, as I talked about before. More Korean companies wanting to do more in the United States. So what would be your message to Korean businesses that might be interested in investing in the United States? And what are some of the specific investments that we should ask Korean companies to invest here in New York City?
Well, I think there's several things we should look at. First of all, innovation. Life sciences is crucial. We're getting ready to invest in a major life science project in Manhattan in the Kips Bay area. We want to attract life sciences here. Then tech. You have always done an amazing job around technology. These are the businesses we want you to look at. How do we improve the quality of lives of everyday New Yorkers and Americans and people of Korea by cross-pollinating our ideas around technology? This is crucial. And then we all have a unique and a unified concern about our environment. When I was in Korea, I was really blown away to see how you are recycling garbage to produce energy. We want to learn about some of the things you're doing on highly performed vehicles, the performance of your vehicles by using everything from electric vehicles to high-speed rail. As I rode one of the trains and witnessed the high-speed rail system that you have there. We want to use your technology, share our innovation so we can produce a better Korea and a better New York.
And I think we're seeing a lot more of that, Mr. Mayor. Take a look at LG Energy Solution. They did a very big joint venture with GM, and together they're making the best electric vehicles in the world today. So that's another very, very good example. And I think that as you spend more time with us here in South Korea, I think we're gonna really expand on it. In fact, you have two amazing people, Frank Caron, your chief of staff, Ed Memberstein. These guys are working really hard to do this. And quite frankly, this is the first time we really had people like them visiting Korea to really sow the vision of New York City. And this is what makes it all very powerful. And you can really count on us to do that for you.
No, thank you so much. And Ed Mermerstein is my commissioner of intergovernmental affairs. It was important for me when I took over as mayor to use that office to build new bridges between all of our brothers and sisters across the globe with different countries. And we have done that. We've received visitors from people such as the mayor of London, individuals from Ireland, individuals from different parts of the globe, and even those Korean dignitaries. And so our goal is to continue to expand on that and use this city as the launching pad to build new relationships with all of our global citizens across the entire globe.
And when your chief of staff, Frank Caron was here in Korea, a week and a half ago, I had introduced him to the Prime Minister of South Korea. And even the Prime Minister said, wow, it is great to have New York City here in Korea, and we want to do more. I was right there when the interaction occurred. So, Mr. Mayor, thank you for having such the insight and the leadership to ask these gentlemen to visit Korea, because it's almost like out of sight, out of mind. And you have made New York City, again, become very visible in the heart and minds of South Korea, the South Korean government. And even this event we're doing today, Mr. Mayor, everyone's going to watch this either live or in its recorded version. And I guarantee you, when they see the kind of leader you are, they're going to go, wow, I want to make a trip to New York City. But I do want to say that we have other state governors, we have senators, we have congressmen, congresswomen visiting South Korea. They all want to do more between the two states or between the two countries. And I hope that, New York City is really top of mind for many companies as they consider investing in America.
That's the goal. When you look here at New York and you realize that we have 47 of the Fortune 500 companies right here in our city. And, the direct service, as I stated, this is an easy commute globally, 400 destinations worldwide. We have 3 major airports that right here in the New York region. And so this is a great place, not only to do business, but to commute to and from your country as you continue to grow in the city. And we want to make it as easy as possible to do business in New York.
In fact, Mr. Mayor, later on today, I'm doing another fireside chat with the chairman and CEO of Korean Airlines, Walter Cho. He told me New York City is one of his most important markets in the world today. I believe he's got 2 flights daily from JFK to Incheon, and I know he's very happy with that travel opportunity. So companies like Korean Air, we should have them do more in your city, because the more flights go back, the more convenient it is, the better opportunities for both parties, right?
No, it was so true, so true. And as I indicated earlier, it's about that talent pool. We have 100 colleges in this city, and when you look at how well we're doing financially, our GDP is the same size as Canada's GDP. Well, this is a place where commerce is alive. We are America's city, and when you do business in New York, you're doing business in the symbol of America. This is a place to be, particularly around startups and technology. Right now in this city, we have 9,000 startups. And this is the energy you want to continue to produce the talent you're looking for and the ideas for the future. So this is the place you want to do business.
And again, because I used to live in New York, I know how New York works. I really, really believe that with some tweaking and some things we do together, we can really help you execute your vision as the mayor. I don't say this lightly, Mr. Mayor, but it's a real honor and a pleasure for me to do this fireside chat with you. I can tell that you speak from the heart. You have a lot of really good wisdom, and I know you really care about New York City. And the very fact that you have this foresight to look at South Korea as a great trading partner, as a great partner between the 2 countries and also the 2 peoples, very, very special. And I think you are the man who can make it happen. And as I said before, when V and I spoke a little bit earlier today, sir, we want to help you become the best mayor in the history of New York City. And I really, really mean that.
And we do it together. I believe there's a great opportunity as we lean into the places where we agree and understand we should not be defined by the small number of things we disagree on. We're at a moment where COVID taught us that we are in this together. What impacts Seoul also impacts the soul of New York. There's an importance that we're cycling out of COVID and continue to fight this battle that tells us if we are unified and we put our heads together, we can come up with vaccines to fight a virus. We can come up with ways of dealing with some of the other crises of environmental concerns that we have. United together, not allowing the waters that separate us to prevent us from being divided on how we solve the problems of the future and the problems of today. I look towards Korea, and I look towards the relationship that we will develop as we continue to solve the global challenges that we're facing throughout our entire globe.
And I know that it's only going to be a matter of time before we officially host you here in Korea. It will be a real honor. I think that you're going to be a terrific hit for everybody here in South Korea to want to shake your hand, meet you, and see how we can work together. And Mr. Mayor, I'm going to be in New York in a couple of weeks. I'm going to pay you a visit, and I want to win with you, okay? So again, I know it's kind of late for you in the evening. I know you work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, but on behalf of Chosun Ilbo and the Asian Leadership Conference, I am so honored to have had this opportunity, sir. Do you have any final, parting comments before we close the day? Because this has been really special.
No, I just want to thank you for allowing me to speak with your audience. I think this is an excellent moment for all of us. As we cycle out of COVID-19, I think we're going to cycle out of it together. We're going to share prosperity. We're going to share a future for your children and my children. Know that we came together and stated we were going to symbolize what's best about the greatest race alive, and that's the human race. Thank you so much. It was great speaking with you. I look forward to seeing you here in New York. And good luck to your son.
Yeah.
He's a smart person by staying here in the city.
Thank you again, sir. I will see you in a few weeks. Have a great evening. Thank you.
You too. Take care.